What's going on, guys? It's Hunter here, and the College Football Playoff Board just announced that they are moving to 12 teams, and they're going to plan on doing this in 2026. But I have the article here pulled up by ESPN. Board decides on 12-team College Football Playoff as soon as 24 sources says. I'll explain to you why I probably think it's going to be 2026, and this kind of goes into the very first paragraph here of the article. The College Football Playoff Board of Managers voted Friday to expand the College Football Playoff to 12 teams in 2026, but is encouraging the sports commissioners to try to implement it as soon as 2024, multiple sources told ESPN. Now, the reason why this first paragraph right here is really important is because of this part right here, but is encouraging the sports commissioners to try to implement it as soon as 2024. So that means they're going to try to get it in 2024, but it will probably be 2026. I would be shocked if they move it up. They could, though. That'd be awesome for somebody who wants it expanded. I know this is a very controversial topic in college football. Half people want it to expand, the other half want to keep it at 4, or maybe there's even some people out there who want to bring it back to 2. If you want to read the rest of this, you definitely can. You can go to ESPN's website right here, pull it up, read this for yourself. A lot of it's just talking about the teams that switch conferences this year and other things like that. But we want to talk about the main point, and that is the expansion and why I think the expansion is a good thing. Here's why. Last year's a great example, okay? Chris Olave did not play in the Rose Bowl game. The Rose Bowl. Okay, that is like the biggest bowl if it's not in the playoffs, outside the playoffs. And Chris Olave, one of the country's biggest stars in college football, did not play in it. That is a problem for the sport, and that is why I think expansion, the main reason expansion is needed. And because you add more bigger games. Okay? Now, a lot of people want to argue that, oh, well, what if players start not showing up for the playoffs? That's not going to happen. And if that happens, then we have a whole other different issue on our hands, and that will be discussed later. But it hasn't happened yet, and I don't think it will happen with 12. And making it 12 makes this more big games, essentially. More big games, and will keep stars in the playoffs. And if you look at last year's playoffs, if we would have had 6 or 12 teams in it, Ohio State would have been ranked 6th. And Ohio State was debatably a top 4 or 5 team last year. Even though they lost to Michigan, it was at Michigan. If that game was on neutral ground or even at Ohio State, that game could have been different. So I would have liked to see Ohio State in it. And I think there's a bunch of other teams like Pitt and all these other schools that, yeah, they lost in their respective New Year's Six Bowls, but what if they had all their players? How good would they have been? And just different matchups. Just because the team's necessarily better than another team by talent-wise does not mean that team's going to win. It's all about matchups, and I think we'll see a lot better of that in the 12-team playoff. Another point of why I like the 12-team playoff, or just the expansion in general. I was more of an 8-team playoff guy, but 12, whatever, you know. Another reason why I like the expansion is because these recruits will want to go to. They don't have to select from the handful of schools now. They can go to wherever they really want to. Now you might say, "Well, they're not probably going to change still from the elite programs." Blah 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 blah, and that might be true. This is kind of one of those opinions where I personally think this will happen, but I could definitely see it not making a difference. But I do think that the 12-team playoff is a great move. Anything but 4. It just needs to have more teams. There's not a single playoff in the world that has 4 teams in it. And that's for good reason, guys. That is for very good reason why there's not another sport in the world that only has 4 teams in their playoff. And another thing is that sorry, I forgot what I was going to say, but I remember now. Okay. Another point that a lot of people say, it's going to get rid of all the big games in the regular season. That is not true at all. That is not true. If anything, it might make them more interesting. Have you thought about this? For example, Pitt versus West Virginia just happened yesterday, right? Now, that game was a big game because it was a rivalry game. But imagine, Pitt now, with this 12-team playoff system, has a chance to make the playoffs. Hello, this is Hunter from the future, and I obviously know that Pitt has a chance to make the playoffs this year, but that's unlikely with only 4 teams. That was kind of my point I'm making. I reworded it. Pitt fans, do not get mad, and enjoy the rest of the video. All of a sudden, that game gets a lot bigger. Now, your top 4 matchups, like Alabama, now they could probably lose once or twice a year and still make it. So what? So what? Even if Alabama loses, there's still a huge upset there. there's still a huge upside. Look at the NFL, right? They have a bunch of people that make their playoffs. Even if a top team loses to a low team, it's still an upset. It's still a big deal. People still watch the regular season in NFL, and people are still going to watch the regular season in college football. It's not going to ruin the regular season. It's not going to do any of that. I'm a big fan of this, guys, and I really hope you guys like this too. And if not, and if you have some points that you would like to make to me, please leave in the comments. I respond to all comments. I'm very interested to see what you guys think about this. But besides that, guys, that's probably going to do it all for this video. I just wanted to discuss this. It's just got announced. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.